first got really serious about photography, I came across a book by the late National Geographic photographer Galen Rowell. Inside it, there was this beautiful picture of a place that I was unfamiliar with. It had this incredible turquoise lake, and the mountains just had a form to them that I'd never seen anywhere else before or since. It was a picture of Torres del Paine, a spectacular national park situated in the far southern reaches of Chile, in a region unknown to me at the time called Patagonia. I knew then that I had to go there, but what I didn't realise at the time was that I would make Patagonia a regular part of my yearly travel escapades. I guess I'm still looking for that definitive photograph of the place. It's hard to describe Torres del Paine in words. I could explain that it has world-class mountains with incredible spires and peaks, lakes and lagoons of varied colours, the result of glacial meltwater, and glaciers including the spectacular Glacier Grey. I could also explain that the park is home to a variety of wildlife, such as the guanaco, grey-chested buzzard eagle, and the elusive Andean puma. But conveying its beauty through my photography is, for me, a much stronger statement than I could ever achieve through the medium of the written word. Last April, I stood at the shore's edge of Lago Pejoy. Winter had come early and the mountains were full of snow, and I thought it really just looked incredible. I'd never seen it quite like this before, so I knew I wanted to try and capture it. But I had some challenges to get over if I was to get the shot just how I wanted it. You see, Patagonia is notorious for extreme winds, and this day was no exception. For a start, I was finding it really hard to keep my balance in the wind. It's not the first time I've had to deal with this kind of weather in Patagonia, and I'm sure it won't be the last. Weather always adds drama to photograph, and I often use long exposures to give a sense of motion to fast-moving clouds. In this particular shot, I think I exposed for around 30 seconds or so. I just love how the mountains look as though they're on fire. Torres del Paine, it seems, always gives something new, if a little startling each time I visit. I'm sure this is due to the unpredictable weather, rather than in spite of it. My father says I have an obsession for stones. I guess that is true for most landscape photographers. They're great as foreground compositional devices because of their varied shapes and textures, and used carefully with wide-angle shots, they can fill in the foreground nicely. This is Lago Sarmiento. It's a special lake because it has these calcium rocks deposited around its shoreline. I shot these images in the early morning, as I often find this the most beautiful time of the day to photograph, because the light is often very soft. It's easy to get seduced by the most obvious shots and shoot them repeatedly during sunrise, but when I arrived at Sarmiento, I knew from experience that roaming the location while the light was changing is always the best approach. Here in this shot, for example, I decided to shoot directly away from the lake and into the sun. Sometimes there's a picture waiting to happen just behind you, and all you need to do to find it is do a little more exploration of your location. The thing I really love about landscape photography is that I often have places all to myself. The best light is often during sunrise and sunset when most tourists aren't about. For instance, I remember finding this vantage point at the bottom of Lago Grey one evening around 10 PM. It has these really lovely rock formations in the foreground, and I used them to lead the eye into the centre of the image. The weather was getting very stormy and the clouds were beginning to get rather dark. I love storms and moody lighting, so it was a real thrill to be at the edge of the lake on my own to experience the dramatic light. But it's always fun to come back to the same place, and in these shots I was leading a group of photographers when we arrived here mid-afternoon. There was no wind and we were able to capture these lovely translucent shots of the bergs near the edge of the lake. In the distance there, you can see the face of Glacier Grey. It's actually 17 kilometres away from this point. And here is the face of Glacier Grey. I shot these from the deck of a boat that anyone can take to see the glacier up close. I was surprised to note how quickly the face of the glacier changes in just a short period of time. I saw it in November 2007 and again in March 2008. On both occasions it had very different features. It's so easy to want to get everything in, but often it's about what you leave out rather than what you leave in that can make or break a photograph. Later on that day, we had just finished dinner at the edge of Lago Grey, and I could see that the light was just getting better and better. So I made a dash for my camera bag and tripod and headed outside. The wind had completely died, and I just kept shooting until the light had gone. Torres is not just about landscape photography. The area contains a number of working farms, so it's not unusual to see South American cowboys or gauchos around the park. After approaching them and asking if I could take their pictures, I settled down to using a telephoto lens for most of these shots. They were taken at Estancia Verde, a lovely farm just on the outskirts of Torres, and also in Las Torres. Gauchos have a particular flair to how they dress, which makes them very distinctive and also very photogenic. It's always a challenge to photograph people. I think a lot of us get hung up on trying to steal images when what's really required is a bit of patience and confidence in approaching possible subjects. It's all about the interaction, you see. I spent some time with gauchos, and although my Spanish is pretty limited, I've always managed to build up a rapport in some way. By spending some time with them and being open about what you're trying to achieve, you can work with your subjects to get the kind of photos you're looking for. I want to show you this one last shot, which for me sums up Torres del Paine. In the distance you have the horns of Paine, and in the foreground there are horses grazing. There's a sense of space here, but at the same time the mountains are very imposing and brooding. Torres has so many faces to it, but one thing I always find hard to remember is the sense of scale. It really is a spectacular park.